Silence. Most people fear silence because it feels empty. But for June and Jennifer Gibbons, silence wasn't empty. It was a weapon. Imagine being born with a mirror image of yourself. Someone who walks when you walk, breathes when you breathe, and hates who you hate. History calls them the silent twins. Two sisters who refused to speak to the world for 29 years. They created their own language, their own religion, and eventually their own death pact. Because they believed a terrifying truth. For one of us to truly live, the other one must die. Today, we open the diary of the Gibbons sisters. We are not looking for ghosts. We are analyzing the most dangerous thing on this planet, the human mind. Welcome to Zerovidence. The story begins in 1963. The Gibbons family moves from the warm sun of Barbados to the cold, gray military towns of Wales. June and Jennifer were born just 10 minutes apart. From the very first breath, they were inseparable. But as they grew, the world around them became hostile. They were the only black children in their community. School wasn't a place of learning, it was a war zone. They were bullied, taunted, chased home every single day. Children can be cruel, and when the world is cruel, the human mind builds a fortress. To survive, June and Jennifer made a pact. They stopped speaking to their teachers. They stopped speaking to their parents. They stopped speaking to everyone. They turned inward. They locked the doors of reality and created a new world inside their room. But this wasn't just silence, it was synchronization. Doctors noticed something strange. If one twin picked up a cup, the other would pick it up at the exact same second. If one felt pain, the other would cry. They developed a secret language called Cryptophasia, a mix of Barbadian slang and English spoken so fast that no one, not even their father, could understand it. They had become a single organism in two bodies. The authorities got worried. They thought, if we separate them, maybe they will become normal. So at age 14, they were sent to different boarding schools. It was a disaster. Without each other, they didn't become normal. They became catatonic. They stopped moving. They lay in their beds like living statues, no expression, no reaction. Their bodies were shutting down. The doctors had no choice. They reunited the sisters. And the moment they were back in the same room, they woke up. But something had changed. The innocent silence was gone. Now they were angry. Back in their room, the silence was broken only by the sound of scratching pens. They wanted to be famous. They wanted the world to hear them without speaking a word. So they became writers. They wrote novels, dark, twisted stories about crime, lust, and death. June wrote a book called The Pepsi-Cola Addict. Jennifer wrote The Toyota Project. But the publishers rejected them. The world didn't want their stories. And when ink failed, they turned to fire. In 1981, the silent twins started a spree of chaos. They stole, they vandalized, and finally they burned down a tractor dealership. They watched the flames with blank faces. It wasn't about the destruction, it was about the attention. But the law doesn't care about psychology, it cares about safety. They were arrested. Jail bars slammed shut. When the police searched their room, they found something far more terrifying than stolen goods. They found their diaries. To the world, they were best friends, soulmates, but inside these pages lay the horrifying truth. Jennifer wrote about June. "She is a long, dark shadow, robbing me of my sunlight. We have become fatal enemies in each other's eyes. One of us is plotting to kill the other." And June wrote about Jennifer. "I was born free, but she has enslaved me. She is the dominant one. I am the weak one. I want to be alone, but I cannot leave her." This wasn't love, it was a hostage situation. They hated each other, they feared each other, but they physically could not function without each other. The judge saw this madness. He didn't send them to prison, he sent them to Broadmoor. Broadmoor Hospital, the home of England's most dangerous killers. Rapists, serial killers, cannibals, and 2 silent teenage girls. 11 years. They spent 11 years inside the high-security walls of Broadmoor. The heavy medication destroyed their creativity. They couldn't write anymore. The ink had dried up. But inside the silence, a new plan was forming. Jennifer began to speak to a journalist, Marjorie, and what she said sounded like a prophecy. "Marjorie, Marjorie, I'm going to have to die, because we have decided we can never be free while we are both alive. One of us must go." It wasn't suicide, it was a sacrifice. They believed that for one soul to be liberated, the other had to leave the earth. And Jennifer chose to be the one to leave. March 1993, the day of their release. They were finally being transferred to a lower security clinic. They were going to be free. On the bus ride, Jennifer leaned her head on June's shoulder. She looked at her sister and whispered her final words. "At last, we are out." Moments later, Jennifer Gibbons slumped over. Her eyes were open, but the life was gone. She was 29 years old. Here is where the story defies science. The doctors performed a full autopsy. They looked for poison. None. They looked for drugs. None. They looked for foul play. 0. Jennifer was healthy. Her heart just stopped. The official cause of death was acute myocarditis, inflammation of the heart. But how does a sudden inflammation kill a healthy young woman exactly at the moment she predicted? Can the human mind be so powerful that it can command the body to die? Days later, Marjorie Wallace visited June. She expected June to be devastated, broken. Instead, June was smiling. "I am free at last," June said. "Jennifer has given up her life for me." Since that day, June Gibbons has lived a normal life. She speaks to her neighbors. She goes to parties. The silent twin is gone. Because the pact was fulfilled. Some bonds are so strong, only death can break them. This was the case of the silent twins. No weapon, no poison, no evidence.